Hey guys, today I'm doing a voiceover because when I filmed this process, this art journal page process, my camera just kept shutting off on me. I would tell it to start recording and then it would start recording and then it would shut off the recording, and then this happened, I don't know, countless times, and sometimes I noticed and sometimes I didn't. So there's going to be bits and pieces missing along the way, so hopefully I'll just explain that as we go. Here, I just took some pages out of the Trapper Keeper art journal binder that I made in my last video. I'll link that below. And I'm taping them together to use it as a hold so it's easier to work with. And here you can see I'm starting to sketch it out, and then bam, my camera shut off. So what I sketched basically is a horizon line and some clouds and a landform and a beach area and some water. So I'm using modeling paste here, and I'm using a palette knife, and I'm putting it on just like I would if I was using paint and a palette knife. I just wanted to add some really fun texture into the piece. So I'm going to do this for the clouds, and I'm going to do it for the landform and the water and the beach area. So you'll kind of get the idea if it doesn't skip over some spots, which it probably will. I had a heck of a time editing this video, so I hope it's okay. So this is like a really easy technique. You don't have to be a painter to be able to do this technique. You just need you don't have to use modeling paste either. You can use your homemade modeling paste with the baby powder and all of that. You can make some really cool textures this way. So here now I'm working on the landform, which is kind of like a mountain. It's supposed to be far off in the distance. So I'm doing peaks and valleys so that when I do add some media onto that, it kind of gets into all those little grooves. And I'll have to apologize ahead of time. It's the middle of the day. My son is home from school now, and the dogs just might bark randomly. I had to buy a new microphone because the situation that I had before, I know I don't do a whole lot of voiceover videos, but it wasn't working, and that was getting frustrating. So instead of just scrapping the whole video from the get-go, after I found out it was going to mess up the whole time, and then having a hard time editing and all of that, I just decided to go buy a new microphone setup here and try to salvage what I have done here. So now I'm doing the water. I know you can't really tell all that well what I'm doing because it's kind of almost transparent. I wish, in retrospect, I wish I would have made it thicker, but then I would have run the risk of it cracking and cracking off the paper if I didn't seal it in. But I think it worked out. I think it looks pretty good in the end. So I'm working on the beach area now. Pretty easy. And if you notice, most of the way I'm putting it on, most of the strokes, if you want to call them that, are the same. When you're working on land or not land, water, you want to try to keep things horizontal. You don't want to get too crazy with it. Okay, so now I'm just drying it up real quick. This is distress paint, and it's broken china from Tim Holtz. And actually, believe it or not, I think I've only got two colors of distress paint, and I'm using them both here today. And what I'm doing is I'm putting it on the top. I'm going to use this as my sky color, and I'm going to spray it with some water here and use my brush. That's just a flat sable hair brush, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just getting it to move down towards the horizon line. I don't know if you've ever really looked into the sky and noticed that it's darker, or that it's lighter at the bottom towards the horizon line, usually. So that's what I'm doing. You can kind of see now where the clouds are going to be. Believe it or not, that modeling paste acts a little bit like a resist to a certain extent. So it kind of ends up with a really cool look to it once it's all dried. I'm adding some more water. I want to be able to move the paint around a little bit more. I've never used the distress paint before. It is pretty cool. I did have some trouble with the bottles though. I don't know, not this one so much, but the next color that I use. I had a little bit of trouble. This one, this is cracked pistachio. I don't know what's going on, but I have trouble squeezing it out, or I don't know, it makes a mess, or just maybe I have a defected bottle. I'm not sure. Okay, so now I'm going to take the two colors, the blue and the cracked pistachio, and I'm going to use it in the water. So again, I'm keeping horizontal strokes towards that horizon line just to make it look realistic. Since I am a painter, I paint more in realistic than I do in abstract, so I just can't help it. It's just what happens. I'll probably go a little overboard at some point on this because I end up, it is an art journal page, so I end up making it art journal-y, if that's a word. If it's not, then we're making it art journal-y. So I'm just mixing the two. I'm going back and forth, mixing them together. And they really do mix rather well together. They look really nice. Right now it looks like a Caribbean, the Caribbean water right now. Okay, I dried that up a little bit. Now what am I doing? Oh, now I'm using Distress Stain in Black Soot, and then the Broken China Distress Paint. Excuse me. And I'm going to add the Black Soot to the Distress Paint to gray it up and darken it up a little bit, and that's going to be the land color. I'm just kind of blocking it in with my flat sable-haired brush there. It could be an acrylic brush, it could be a watercolor brush, I'm not really sure. I don't have it right next to me. And if you don't cover the whole thing, if you don't make it solid, it looks like it's, got peaks and valleys. Now I'm adding some of the green into the mountain just to kind of tie everything in together. I only used, I think, 4 colors in the whole thing, and I just kind of interchange them together, mix them together, just so it just makes a very cohesive piece versus it being, 100 different colors. All right, now I'm getting out, this is still Distress Stain, and that, I'm going to have to look. I can't see it. I should have been watching. I blinked, I think. Okay, that is Tarnished Brass Distress Stain and Picket Fence Distress Stain, and I'm using that as the beach colors. Just to give it, it's got a little bit of a sparkle, and in the end product, you can really see the beach has a little bit of a sparkle to it. And now I'm using the white to kind of highlight and soften some of that tarnished brass color. Putting some of that into the mountain as well. It kind of anchors the landform into the ground there, ties it all together. And I think I'm going to give that a good dry. And you can see where the modeling paste was. See how it's kind of like it's kind of working like a resist. All right, now I'm just going to go back and I'm going to add layers and depth. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing I did to begin with, and I'm just going to add more colors and more water, and not more color. I'm going to add the same color, just more of it, just to give it some depth. And it does appear to give it more of a realistic feel than it just being one flat color. I'm drying it up. Now I think I'm going to work on the water again. Yep, I'm just giving it some more layers. I'm going to add a little bit of that black soot just to gray some spots up a little bit. Not too much, not yet. Just building up color. And I'm trying not to cover the whole entire thing, getting rid of all the white space. I'm trying not to do that. But again, the modeling paste acts like a resist of sorts. So now I sprayed water and I'm doing tapping a little bit on my desk to get it to move a little bit. It kind of moves like water. And then I'm going to go back and do some more work on the beach. I'm hoping this sounds okay. This is the first time I've used this, so I haven't a clue if I sound ridiculous or if I sound like I'm in a tunnel, or um, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. Hopefully it works out okay. I am going to do a fast forward version of this if you don't want to listen to all the details and watch every little thing. I think it's going to end up being like maybe 5 minutes, but it's a super fast, speedy version. So I think what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description box below for now, where if you wanted to go watch the sped up version, you can. And then maybe in a couple weeks, I'll just publish it, make it public for everybody. Now, this is one of those chipboard pieces I had left over from a couple videos ago when I was working with the Deja Vu paper line and chipboard pieces. So it's already gessoed from that video. So I thought it would work great in this scene. So I'm taking the modeling paste and I'm going to add texture, or I am adding texture. So right now you see me kind of scraping it on, and now I'm pouncing. The pouncing looked a lot better. It made it look more like a metal, especially like rusted or corroded metal that's around, salt air. So I think it turned out really good. So I'm just tapping away using my palette knife. You don't really need all that much modeling paste, and it looks really, really cool. I'm taking care to avoid the globe part of the street lamp there. And now you can see the texture. I'm holding it up to the light. See how that looks really like metally? Alright, now I'm going to take some black soot and I'm just going to tap onto there. It should be dry, but I think not all of it's 100% dry, but that's okay. So I'm just going to tap it on, and then I think I'm going to grab a baby wipe and maybe tap a little bit, or no, add water now. And dry it up a little bit, and then I took a baby wipe to it. There we go. And that's just really to get rid of some of the excess that wasn't quite dry yet. And then I'm going to tap some of the Tarnished Brass, excuse me, Tarnished Brass Distress Stain on top of that. It's going to end up, I think, with 3 or 4 layers by the end of it. So we'll get some Tarnished Brass, and then I'm going to add some of that cracked pistachio on top of that. Oh, that wasn't enough. I had to go straight with the bottle. It wasn't, when I was trying to apply it with the baby wipe, it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So dry that up. Now we're going to add the cracked pistachio. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. It's allergy season once again here in Kentucky, and I have bad allergies, and so do my kids. My husband's lucky, he does not, but the rest of us do. I think today is actually a air quality alert day too, which is never good. See how good that's starting to look? It looks just like an old street lamp. I think it looks really cool. Okay, so here I am using titanium white acrylic artist paint. I'm going to squirt some out, and I'm going to use it on the water. And I didn't really like how clumpy it got, so I ended up going back with a baby wipe and softening it all down, blending it all out together. It's a dirty baby wipe too, I'm pretty sure. Used it with the other colors, so see how much nicer that looks when you soften it out. And I'm also going along the beach line there to try to pick up some of the texture that I put down with the modeling paste. Trying to hit the peaks on the land back there. And then I'm probably going to go in and do the clouds here in just a second too. Yeah, I'd switch to a brush. It's easier to do the clouds with that's a round brush, a round sable brush. So I'm just making little soft cloud type, excuse me, cloud type forms. Pretty easy. If I was painting a painting, I would have many different colors going on. I'd have the white, and then I'd have like a grayish or bluish color underneath, and then I would probably have an even brighter like highlight towards the tips, like maybe with a tad bit of yellow maybe in it. But this is an art journal page, and it's just supposed to, this is really more of a, soft, subtle type look. So my sky's going to have all kinds of clouds going on. I hear my family moving about. My hubby's home now too, so you might hear him as well. So I just soften the underneaths out with some water. And the reason I used the acrylic titanium white is because I didn't want it to dry super fast. The gesso probably would have dried really quickly and I wouldn't have been able to soften it out the way I wanted to. So now most guys have like streaky clouds towards the horizon line, so I'm just kind of insinuating that a little bit. Insinuating, is that the right word? Giving the impression of. Okay, so now I'm going to go along the beach area, and you know how the water, when it washes up onto the sand, how it washes back and it kind of has this cool look to it. That's what I'm going after, which is why I'm dragging the color back onto the blue and green so that it looks like it's washing either up onto the beach or washing back up off the beach. I'm going to add a little bit of highlights into the water. Not much. Now I'm going up under that white wash that I had put there to kind of give it like a shadow to where it looks like wet sand, using that Tarnished Brass distress stain. So I'm going to go back and forth until I'm happy with how it looks. I'm trying to keep all my strokes horizontal, even though it's cockeyed looking right now. It's hard for me to paint on a flat surface. I'm usually, got a canvas sitting up in front of me versus laying down on a table. So I'm going to dry that up, and here's where I start getting art journal-y. I take my Faber, somebody please tell me how to say that correct, my Faber-Castell Artist Pitt pen in fine, I believe, and I just kind of start making everything look sketchy. So I'm going to go around the land and along the beach and around some clouds, and not too much. My pen wasn't working very well, and it was skipping all over the place, and it was aggravating, but I already started, so I just went with it. Just made it part of the page. So now I'm just, making peaks and valleys again, finding where I put the modeling paste. And I'm going to start working on the beach, just real ragged and free-formed. just to give that sketchy look. Go a little bit into the water. Doesn't that text look nice behind there? I think it does. It gives it a little something something. That way you're painting, if you're just doing a painting, it doesn't have to look 100% perfect because there's something already under there. And moving on into the clouds. That's why you got to make sure that the paint's dry before you start using the pen. If I would have went into that white paint when it was wet, it would have caused a mess. Okay, I think now we're going to add the lamppost onto the page, pretty sure. You see I didn't do that much of the black sketchy. This is matte multi-medium that I put in a bottle. I was showing you that thinking you're going to be able to read that, but you really can't. So I'm just going to make sure I hit every surface on the back side there so that it's got good contact with the page. But you can see that I wasn't very sketchy. I mean, I was sketchy with the black pen, but I didn't go crazy. I was really unhappy with the skipping of the pen. But, once I started, I just had to go with it. So I'll put some white down and let it dry before I mess with it any further. And these are Martha Stewart glitters. I don't know what color they are, but there's two different colors. One's like a gold and one's like a greenish gold. I just mixed them together inside that little area there where the lamp would be. And I think it got cut off, but I stirred it up a little bit, so I mixed it up a little bit with a stick. That's diamond glaze. I usually use stuff like glossy accents, but I had that in my stash. I thought I would see how it would do. So when I started dropping it in there, it was balling up on top of the glitter. So I just kept adding, and then I took a stick and stirred it all up together. And I did this for quite a while, but I cut most of that out, I believe. There's only so much stirring of glitter and glue that you can watch, right? So that's pretty good. And that's going to take some time to dry. I did notice some pretty cool stuff happening when I was drying it. So I'm trying to show you up close. It's really full. It's almost bubbled over. Probably put too much. I guess we'll see the cool technique that was happening in a little bit. That is Acetylene crystals from Prima, and they're just circles. And I'm going to use one of the small ones, and I'm just going to kind of outline the globe there with it, cutting it in half, cutting some pieces off, patching it up a little bit just to make it form a circle. And most of this got cut out too. It was extremely a big pain in my tush because the diamond glaze was so overfloweth in that circle that it didn't want to stay where I placed it. So the little crystals didn't want to stay where I placed it. So you don't get to see me messing with it. I keep moving around with sticks and stuff, and it took a while, so I cut all that out. Oh, that was my phone. I think I should probably mute it. There we go. Sorry about that. So here I am patching a piece together at the bottom. Some of the pieces I cut off. And there, voila. It took 20 minutes, but that was pretty fast, huh? Okay, so here I'm showing you, I'm taking the blow dryer and I'm going up underneath that area. You see how it's puffing up, the area where I put the diamond glaze? Yeah, hopefully I'll tip it to where you can see that it's like a globe looking type deal. It was pretty fun, actually, to play with. And the glitter on the inside is still moving around quite a bit, but it doesn't stay as a globe. It still kind of sinks back down. But you can see now where the top is like it was like a skin, and it kept moving as the blow dryer, moved over it. And that took quite a long time to dry, and at this point it's still not even dry all the way. So now here I am writing the saying, let the light guide your way. And here's where I started to get frustrated. I had something in mind of how I wanted it to look, and it did not turn out that way. The handwriting is fine. Up to this point, it's fine. It's right about here that I start getting frustrated. When, sometimes once you do it, you can't undo it, so you have to just kind of make do. So I'm going with a bigger Faber-Castell pen, like a 1.5, and I'm going to go over top of it, which is what I should have used to begin with when I wrote it, because it's much thicker or fatter of a tip, a nib, or whatever it is. I'm doing the little curly cues. Once I made it darker, that's when I noticed I didn't really I liked the top set of curly cues, but I didn't like the bottom set of curly cues. So I think about it for a long time how I'm going to fix this, and ultimately I don't really end up fixing it. I just end up making it worse after a while. So I just kind of had to leave it alone. So now I'm trying to balance it out a little bit by adding more curly cues, and it just gets more and more aggravating for me. But that's okay. I think, in the end, the whole overall page turned out really nice. Okay, now I'm using the ink tints blocks from Derwent, and I'm going to be using, there's a dark blue one in this set of 12, so I'm going to use that to shade the side of the lamppost here. And I'm pretty sure I'm about ready to fast forward it, because it's kind of simple, straightforward, just using water and the ink tints blocks, and I'm just going and softening it out, going around. I end up going all the way around, but right now I think I'm just going on the one side, just to give it depth. And that blue works perfectly with the gray blue color that I used in the land part. I'm checking it out, going around the other side a little bit. So now I decide to take that same blue ink tints blocks and go around the edges, and right now I'm just going straight to the paper, and then I'll add water here in just a second. And I really like the way this looks, the way it turned out. I think it looks really cool. I chose to use the blue because there's so much blue and greens in the picture. I thought the blue would finish it off nicely, even though we're not close to being finished. So now I'm just going to go around all the edges and do that same thing. I could have done this with black, but I think that would have been too stark next to this pretty blue sky and the pretty blue water. And it just adds so much to it. It just really looks pretty this way, I think. Now I'm going to go up underneath my not happy with writing. Let's make that stand out a little bit more, shall we? I was trying anything and everything to make it happier, make me happier with the way it looked. Sometimes the more we do, the worse it gets. But anyway, I just keep going. It adds a neat little effect, like it's standing out off the page, I guess. The same blue ink tints block. They don't have names on them. I wish they did. That way I could tell you exactly which blue I'm using. They have numbers, but I can't see the number from here. Excuse me. So then I decided to take that same blue color Inktense block and go up underneath the white caps that I made to give the water some more movement and more depth. And it ends up looking pretty good. I mean, it's the perfect color blue for the other colors that I chose. It looks really nice. It's just adding these little details. And it's easy. You can do this. If you give it a try, you should give it a try. You can do this. Still using that same round brush. There was too many white blobs in my opinion, so I decided to go in with that blue and just kind of break it up a little bit, kind of like a wave is coming in crashing. Now I'm going to add a shadow on the ground from that pole, and I end up doing that whole right side in more of a shadowy look, so it's kind of neat looking. And then I'm adding some more shadow on the side of that pole, just building up color. You know, sometimes we're a little hesitant to add colors and stuff. So now I'm adding some black to the pole itself, the black Inktense block to the pole, just to define that globe a little bit better. And then I got my white titanium paint back out. I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to go over top of the pole and grab the peaks from where I put the modeling paste on there to give it some highlights, mostly on the left side of the pole. Right now, at this point, anything to distract me from my writing over there. And like I said, it doesn't end up all that bad. Now I'm putting some actually on the globe itself to make it a little bit brighter. And I'm going back to that blue Inktense block, and I'm going to make some of the hills and valleys stand out a little bit more. Just giving a little bit more detail. Sometimes you can go overboard when it comes to the detail part. You can get lost in the detail. It's hard to stop sometimes. But I think I'm okay so far. Now I'm just kind of defining the base of that land structure. Then I decided the other side needed a little bit more of a shadow pop to come off of the page a little bit. That same blue Inktense blocks. I could have used Inktense pencils, but that's what I had close, so that's what I grabbed. I like the Inktense blocks. Okay, now I'm using like the burnt umber or yellow ochre maybe color that's in the set of 12. It's kind of like an orangey, burnt umbery, maybe not burnt umber, like maybe burnt sienna or something. It's like an orangey yellow. I guess it doesn't really have to have a formal name. But it works really nicely with the Distress Stain Tarnished Brass color. So I'm just giving some more shadow areas to the sand. And I went up next to where the water would be rushing onto the beach. Give it more of a, ground it a little bit more definition. Going up onto the land with that same color, just to tie it all in together. Alright, now I'm going to dry it up really good, and I'm putting the date down here at the bottom. Not very exciting. It's August 31st, 2015. I'm just using the fine tip Faber-Castell Pitt pen, the same one that skips. And then here's where I really get frustrated. I decided to try this whiteout pen to try to make the the swirly do's look better and the writing looked better, and it just drove me insane. I think I messed with this stupid thing for about half an hour, and that's what you see right there is about all I got out of it. It was not a fun experience. That just drove me crazy. So I probably won't be using that thing for a while. And see, I tried to use it again on the bottom swirly do, but it just wasn't working. It just wouldn't come out. No matter what I did, it just wasn't working. So I gave up on that, and then now I have a Jelly Roll Glaze white pen that I didn't like. It wasn't showing up. So then I thought, oh, souffle, I'll try that. Well, it's more of a gray black than a white. Than a white. It's more of a gray black than a black. So when it dried completely, it kind of looked like graphite, which is okay, but that's just not what I was going for. It didn't help me. It didn't help my cause. So I went over all of it with that, didn't like it. Then I found the black glaze Jelly Roll pen, and I really liked it. So I ended up going through over all of my writing and all of my swirls. I couldn't cover up all the white, but I did the best I could. This part made me a little happier with the whole overall writing part. So yeah, you can kind of see the glaze when I tilted it there. So I keep trying to go over, trying to cover a lot of the white out white, and it just, ugh, I wish I wouldn't have put that on there, but okay. So then I'm taking that same glazed Jelly Roll pen, and I am making some more of the sketchy marks on the mountain or the landform a little bit more to tie the Jelly Roll glaze pen into the whole thing. So I'm using it kind of as the sketchy pen idea there. I'm going to go along the water. And I do believe too that I go on the beach and the sky a little bit. I just wanted more of a free, sketchy look for my art journal, not so much of a painting look, I guess. Even though it I can't help myself. Alright, here I'm going to go define some of the clouds a little bit. Not too much. And then I go back to the white glaze Jelly Roll pen, and I pretty much do the same thing I did with the black. I start with the swirly do's to see if it's even going to work. Since the top one has a swirly do, has the white on the swirly do, I thought, well, at least I'll start here, I guess. And it was okay. So then I went over the entire thing, and again, I didn't like it. So now I'm just using that same Jelly Roll glaze, the white glaze, and I'm going over and highlighting some of the water and the beach, and I'll probably highlight a little bit of the land. Those pens are really cool. It takes a while for that white to show up, so it's kind of neat. It's like magic. Okay, so now I've decided I really want that side to be darker. And I think I'm using the black now to put the shadow along the side of the lamp post. I know you can't really tell probably what I'm touching on on my choices there on my palette. I think it's black. And I'm just going to soften that out a little bit, and I'll end up adding some more dark on that side. Again, all in a distraction from the from the writing that I'm not happy with at this moment. So I even did the date down there. I guess I was thinking there. I was probably going, oh my gosh, I hate that writing. I was fixated on it. Alright, so now I added some of the black ink tints and some water, and I'm just going to let it drip, and then I'll blot it a little bit and see what that looks like. I know I'm not the only one that gets fixated on something. When we're working in our art journals, it's hard not to. But you can always, start over. You can cover it with gesso and start the whole process all over again. So now I'm just trying to add more shadow onto the right side just to make it darker, just to anchor it a little bit on that right corner. Because that's really where, you're closest to the picture itself. So I'm just checking it out here, trying to decide what I want to do. And darker still. And adding some more water. I'm starting to like that. So I'm probably going to be drying it up here soon. Yep, dried it up. And then now I'm going to take some of that black and make some of the land even darker still, especially on that right hand side. And I just wet my brush a little bit. Alright, so there you can tell I went back with that black pen and went back over the writing. So it's all finished now, I think, and I'm taking the tape off of the back. And I'm going to be putting it in the binder. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. Even though I wasn't super happy with the writing, I think that the overall look is pretty cool. I really like the color combination. I really like that it's real soft and watercolory looking. I think it turned out really great. So be sure to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment below. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.